Welcome to the Ultimate Mists of Pandaria Warrior PvP Guide. In this guide, I'll be covering everything you need to know to be successful on Warrior. I'll be covering talents, glyphs, macros, how to play the class, what to do in 2v2 arena, what to do in 3v3 arena, and all of my various tips and tricks. If you guys are much more of a visual learner, I also have live commentaries on my channel, where I commentate play-by-play what I'm doing and thinking in World PvP, Battlegrounds, and Duels. First off, I'll cover gear. Gear is super important in Mists of Pandaria PvP as it is in any expansion, but this especially because of set bonuses. I'll cover set bonuses, gems, and then I'll go through enchants and stuff. As you can see here, disarm duration reduced by 50%, as well as I gain a 70% movement speed for 3 seconds after using Heroic Leap, which is huge. Notice I'm running full conquest gear. I'm not running a single PvE off piece, and that's because in Season 1 of Mists of Pandaria, or Season 12, PvE off pieces above item level 473, like if I had a 490 item level PvE piece from Raid, it will get downscaled to 473. With that being said, I'm going to cover my gems and then I'll go through enchants. In the helm here, I've got 216 strength and 3% critical strike effect. This is really good. The only other gem I would replace this with would be the resilience and PvP power one. Apart from that, I'm stacking mainly strength and critical strike in all of my gems. As you can see here, I try to prioritize the socket bonuses that give me strength, and I don't care really about the ones that provide PvP power. So crit strike in the shoulders, crit strike in the chest. I've also got crit in the boots, legs, belt, and then gloves. In the belt here, I did try to get the socket bonus match for 60 strength. Didn't care about the legs because of PvP power, etc. And then I also used a Radiant Wild Jade here. I'll cover enchants. Basically, for the shoulder enchant, you will want Greater Tiger Fang Inscription. This gives 200 strength and 100 crit strike. For the chest, you will want stats, crit strike to cloak, strength to bracers, bloody dancing steel or dancing steel to your weapon, some sort of minor speed increase to your boots. For the leg enchant, you'll want to go with Anger Hide Leg Armor, giving you 285 strength and 165 crit strike. For the belt, you're going to want some sort of living steel belt buckle or rocket boots or something. And then for the gloves, strength to the gloves. It's very important that you have at least 3% hit chance and at least 6% expertise in Mists of Pandaria PvP. Apart from that, you're going to want at least somewhere around 16% crit strike for arenas. That's why I stack crit, and then the other stats are kind of irrelevant after that. Really, all that matters is strength and crit strike, and then I guess you could prioritize mastery. You could reforge some of the haste out of your legs if you wanted more crit as well. Next, we're going to move on to talents. Now, talents are pretty subjective in the sense that they'll change depending on what arena team you face, but the majority of time in 2v2 or 3v3 arena, this is the spec that you will be running. Sometimes you can change out Juggernaut for double time, which is basically 2 20-second charges. You will never use Warbringer. Warbringer is trash because it removes the stun from your charge stun, and that's on its own DR. Level 30 second wind, these other two talents are just not as good. Level 45, sometimes you'll change it out for the other two talents, but staggering shout's really good because since hamstring is on its own global cooldown, you can run in, hamstring, and immediately staggering shout them, and it will root the target. Piercing Howl is also good. Disrupting Shout is good against targets like druids or mages, where you just kind of sit in a root and they're casting in your face, but it does share a cooldown with Pummel. Level 60, I do actually play all three of these talents. Dragon Roar is pretty good, believe it or not. But Shockwave and Stormbolt by far are just too good. Having the ability to rotate stuns every 15 to 18 seconds in terms of DR, or just doing Stormbolt back-to-back Shockwaves is just incredibly helpful. Bladestorm has a lot more damage than it did in Cataclysm, and is still phenomenal for making yourself immune to CC. You cannot get disarmed out of this. Dragon Roar is really good because it always crits and it knocks them back, so it's just another interrupt in addition to your charge and Stormbolt. Level 75, I also sometimes swap out all three specs. Again, 80% of the time I'll be running Safeguard. Safeguard is your root break. This gives you the ability to intervene your banner. So if I put down my banner down and I intervene it, Only Safeguard will allow me to break roots. Otherwise, I run Mass Spell Reflect or Vigilance against potentially Rogue Mage to do on my healer or something. Master Spell Reflect is really good for double caster like Chaos, like Destro Warlock for Chaos Bolts, or potentially some other big caster like Fire Mage. Last but not least, here we've got Stormbolt. 99% of the time you'll run Stormbolt. Avatar is really good because it's a root break and it's 20% increased damage for 24 seconds. It lasts a very long time. It's kind of like Wings. Bloodbath is good when paired with Bladestorm. If you want to do Bloodbath Bladestorm for Battlegrounds, that's really good. But Stormbolt is just by far too good because this is what you're going to be using on the off target. Your focus target, you're going to be Stormbolting your focus target like every single time it's off cooldown. It's critical. That'll set you up for traps, that'll set you up for fears, that'll set you up for polys, whatever other comp you're running. It'll be helpful for your teammate. Moving on to Glyphs. These Glyphs don't change too often. I'll go through them very quickly here. Glyph of Sea Smash. This basically applies Sunder Armor every time I Colossus Smash. Heroic Leap. This gives Heroic Leap a 30-second cooldown, incredibly strong, and when paired with your set bonus, you gain 70% movement speed for 3 seconds after using Heroic Leap. Last but not least, I have Mortal Strike here. This increases my healing taken by 10%. Sometimes I'll run Glyph of Bull Rush, which is pretty good, and yeah, that's about it. Other than that, Rune Eruption is also kind of good. 6% damage is not bad. Glyph of Thundering Strike, Glyph of Blazing Trail here, and Glyph of Burning Anger. All the basically cool cosmetic glyphs. One thing to note, I do change my talents and glyphs for almost every single PvP match or duels or whatever I'm doing PvP related. For instance, if I'm fighting a mage in a duel, if it's a 1v1 situation, I'll probably run Bladestorm Avatar, so then I just have the most amount of root breaks, maybe even Mass Spell Reflect as well. If I'm fighting something like TSG in arenas, I'll potentially run something like this, so then I have Vigilance for my healer and just the most amount of peels, and maybe even Piercing Howl with that as well. And sometimes I like to swap up my glyphs depending on what I'm facing. I want to cover some warrior basics. These are things you just need to know before you start entering arenas or PvP, and just kind of how to play the class in general. Some things I'll cover is your buffs. You have Battle Shout and Commanding Shout. Obviously, press that right at the start of the game. It's going to give you 20 rage. It's very good. Apart from that, you're going to do your usual charge, and some other things have changed. Hamstring is now on its own global cooldown, and basically costs 7 rage, so it's super amazing. It does not root the target anymore if you press it twice, but if you use it once and then press Staggering Shout, it does root, so it's very helpful. Some other things to know. Slam is now your basic highest damage ability output. Mortal Strike is very good because you're going to want to keep that consistent mortal wounds uptime. It also costs no rage, but Slam is your rage dump. I don't really use Heroic Strike that much. It costs too much rage. It doesn't really deal that much damage, but I do use Slam when I'm going to burst. The other thing you need to know is Slam does 10% more damage on targets affected by your C Smash. Apart from that, I'll just show you the basic opener. I'm going to run in, charge, hamstring right away, get a C Smash up, instant Mortal Strike, and then just start doing some damage to it. I use Overpower when I can, but I also save some rage for Slam when I'm about to stun the target or whatever I'm about to do. I've got some Blade Dancing Steel procs plus my Trinket proc up here, so I'm going to go ahead and stun the target, press my on-use PvP trinket, C-Smash, and then just spam Slam. And you can see that damage, 100k, 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 pumping out from Slam. Apart from that, I'll press Mortal Strike on cooldown, use Colossus Smash when it's back up again, and then Slam to dump rage. And that's the basic warrior damaging abilities and how to use the class. Now I'll cover how to burst. Bursting on warrior is pretty easy since the rotation is pretty simplified, but the most important thing you're going to want to look out for are your trinket procs, both your weapon enchant and your trinket as well. From there, it's pretty easy. You're going to pop Recklessness and Skull Banner at the exact same time. I generally have that macroed in, and then your on-use trinket. Now, I kind of like to separate my cooldowns. I try to pop my on-use trinket earlier in the match and then save my Recklessness for later. But apart from that, I'll show you guys how the burst is. So the number one most important thing is you're going to want to have C-Smash on the target before you pop your cooldowns. And then you basically either Stormbolt and pop everything, or you go from there. So I'll go ahead and get some damage up on the target. Go ahead and C-smash. Now I'm going to stun the target, pop everything. I'm going to Mortal Strike the target and just dump slams in the target. Slam, slam, slam. Once that Storm Bolt ends, I might even Shockwave, C-smash again into another slam. Slam, just pump out slams. And then maybe the target's still low, I'll pop an on-use, continue to slam. C-smash back up, C-smash, Mortal Strike because I don't want those mortal wounds to fall off. Back to slamming. I also want to cover some warrior tips and tricks. The number one most useful thing on warrior is demoralizing and mocking banner. You're able to intervene your banner and self root break, and it's one of the most helpful things ever. Be careful not to put your banner at the maximum distance of 30 yards because your safeguard is only 25 yards. But if you're going to put this down, you can put it down, immediately intervene your banner, and it will self root break. Some other things that are very helpful: Heroic Leap is not on global cooldown. One of the most best things that you can do against mages, against hunters, is if you charge and then they blink or disengage, is immediately leap and storm bolt and then pop all your cooldowns and start going ham. You can also pop Die by Sword if you want to avoid disarm when you're going super ham. So if you're popping your recklessness and it's a guaranteed kill, you could pop your parry and try to parry disarm. That's pretty aggressive. If you use Shattering Throw on a target, it decreases their armor by 20% for 10 seconds, so it could also be used as an insane burst item. Remember that your charge stuns and it's on its own DR, so use it as an interrupt. If the caster pops Aura Mastery, back up and use your charge stun as opposed to something else. Remember that your hamstring is also on its own global cooldown and on a half-second global cooldown, so you can still hamstring while you're using other abilities. And that's really helpful for getting a root immediately. You can hamstring and then staggering shout right after for an immediate root. If you're rage starved, you could use Battle Shout to gain 20 rage. I would highly recommend Keybinding Symbiosis. You get 3 amazing druid spells from 3 different druid specs, including Stampeding Roar, which is another root break. I use a different keybind for each talent, so it's really easy for me to switch in between talents. There are macros that makes it super easy. If I switch between Dragon Roar and Shockwave, it'll remain on the same keybind, but I actually like having different keybinds for the different talents. D-Stance is very helpful against teams that you know are going to camp you, something like DK Ret. It says decreases damage taken by 25% here on beta, but I remember it being 10% back in the day. I could be wrong about that though. Next, I'll cover macros. Macros are essential for PvP because of focus target. I'll cover more about focus target later, but let's just cover some of the basic warrior macros. First macro I have is a /cast bladestorm /cancelaura bladestorm. What this does is this allows me to cancel my bladestorm early if I need to get a Shattering Throw off or a pummel or something like that. Very helpful. Next I have Recklessness and Skull Banner in the same macro. Now sometimes I will use Skull Banner without Recklessness, but there's never a time where I will press Recklessness without Skull Banner. They both share a 3-minute cooldown, so they go basically hand in hand. I have some focus target pummel macros. Next I have a safeguard macro. It's a mouse over safeguard macro. So basically if I press this button, all I have to do is hover my mouse over that target and it will instantly intervene them, and I don't have to target them physically. Next I have a demoralizing banner and a mocking banner macro that basically allows me to intervene them without targeting them. Another very helpful macro. So let's say I'm fighting this mage right here and I need to intervene this banner to root break. I can do so by pressing that ability twice and still remain targeted on whatever target I'm hitting. Next I have a target party 1 safeguard and a target party 2 safeguard. Now these macros are very helpful because it allows me to intervene my partners also without having to target them. You can kind of see the theme here. On my right action bar I have a bunch of focus target macros as well as arena targeting macros. I'll show you these as well. That's about it for warrior in terms of abilities, but I do have these 6 macros here, which is focus arena 1, 2, and 3, and then /target arena 1, 2, and 3. And why these are so important is because this allows me to target and focus different arena players without having to use tab target or without having to use my mouse to click on them. All I have to do is just look at the arena frames on my right or left or wherever I have them on my screen, and then press the macro accordingly. Having a focus target is absolutely critical if you want to become a high-rated arena player. The simple reason why focus target is so powerful is because of crowd control for CC. It allows you to crowd control basically the healer while you are on the DPS. If I have a skull target here and an X target here, I'm going to use my /focus macro, or I'm going to use my focus arena 1, 2, 3, and then focus X here. Now, while I'm DPSing on skull, I can use my focus macro to CC X while I do big damage here on skull. Out of that Stormbolt, I'm going to do a full fear, look to pop my full cooldowns into an execute. I can also use my macros if I'm on this target and this target's casting. I go ahead and charge and interrupt that cast, and then leap shockwave back onto the other target, still while having this target as my focus target. And basically it's the most important for crowd control. I have a focus target pummel, I have a focus target Stormbolt, I have a focus target fear, etc. I also want to talk about 2v2 and 3v3 compositions for warriors. Warriors synergize pretty well with almost every single class, but there's certain classes that they do a lot better with. For 2v2 arenas, since you can get rank 1 in Gladiator again, you'll most likely be running with the healer, and I would recommend Resto Shaman or Resto Druid. You could play with the Holy Powy, potentially. It's not going to be as good as Holy Powy DK. You could play with a Mistweaver Monk potentially, or even something like a Ret if you're really skilled. For 3v3 comps, for me, I think you're limited to 3 solid compositions. You're limited to Warrior, Mage, Druid, WMD. You're limited to KFC, which is Hunter, Warrior, Holy Pally. And then you're limited to either TSG, which is Warrior DK, or Turbo Cleave, which is Warrior Shaman. Anything with an offensive Dispel greatly benefits Warrior, especially Mists of Pandaria, but also the ability to just run in and get in the enemy's face constantly with all the micro CC from Charge, Stormbolt, Shockwave. The number one most important thing in Mists of Pandaria is crowd control chains, CC chains. Setting up a Stormbolt into a Fear, into a Grip Silence, into potentially a Blinding Light, into maybe a Fear off. That is how you win games at high rated. Moving on to the gameplay section of the guide, I wanted to show a live commentary of a duel here so you can kind of see how I'm playing this class, because really it applies to all the classes in Arena. Charging Mage here, he blinks, I'm going to leap Stormbolt, pop my damage right away. Nice, he Trinket immediately roots me, I'm going to get out of this route, catch up to him. Bladestorm this second route, should force him to block here. Trick at the deep, continue to try to get pressure up. Pop shield wall here. I'm actually going to fear him a little bit on the back foot. Shouting throw the fear with the block. Put him in another route here. Big slam. Big slam. Gonna Stormbolt him here. Also rallying cry. No way to root break right now. Charge. He blinks. Double time charge. Execute. That's about all I have to cover for Mists of Pandaria Warrior. I'm extremely excited for MOP to come out. As you see here, I've got my level 85 Warrior fully geared, ready for MOP to finally release. It comes out on July 21st with the pre-patch coming out on July 1st, and I'm very excited for that. All footage you saw me record on here was recorded on the beta, so some things might be subject to change. Apart from that, I'm also going to be releasing some Mists of Pandaria Warrior Arena live commentary and Mistweaver videos coming out soon. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this guide. I'll see you all in the next video.